And folks, welcome back to another edition of Fowl Players Radio. My name is Michael Spedden. Today we welcome Sammy Serious, the lead singer of the Zeros, to the program. We talked about the band's history, their start in New Jersey and New York, their move to England, back to the States, Los Angeles, also writing the HOWARDSTERN theme song for the Howard Stern Show, their appearance in Caged Fury with Erik Estrada, sharing the stage with such bands as Guns N' Roses, Poison, Blue Oyster Cult, Peter Noone, and much more. He has a website with tons of pictures from the old days with music and merchandise for sale. I tell you, this was a really great interview. Had a great time talking to Sammy Serious, www.sammyserious.com. The Fowl Players of Perryville are now booking shows for 2022. We have some shows coming up on Maryland Party Boat and Western Maryland Scenic Railroad if you're in the mood for a little murder mystery. For more information, please call us at 443-600-0446 or see our website at www.fowlplayersofperryville.com. Subscribe to this podcast for free at fowlplayersradio.com or listen wherever you find podcasts online. No matter what platform you listen on, you can help us greatly by giving us a fair review and a 5-star rating. Also, be sure to visit our page on patreon.com, www.patreon.com/fowlplayersradio. And we now have selected episodes on YouTube. If you're watching this, you're probably looking at it on YouTube. So make sure you check out this new episode with Sammy Serious. Enjoy. And folks, welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. Michael Spedden here, and this week we have Sammy Serious of the Zeros. And Sammy, great to see you. I've enjoyed your stuff for a long time. I can remember the first time I'd ever seen you. I was coming in after a show myself, turned on cable TV, and the movie Caged Fury was on. I see this. Yeah, Erik Estrada. And I see this really cool band playing in a club. I was like, who are these guys? I love this. And then I watched the movie all the way through, and a lot of good scenery in that movie, but
we're actually in the movie. We're actually in the movie. So it's like, when I do an interview, I usually talk about the songs in the movie because they use 2 songs of the Zeros in that movie. But we're actually playing in the movie too. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I'd first seen you. And I was like, yeah, these guys are cool. So I went out and back in those days, there was no internet, so I had to go out and kind of do some research and find your stuff. And I bought it and I love it, so I'm really glad that you agreed to do this today and everything, just to kind of catch up with you and talk about your new projects and everything. Recently, I saw that you did a reunion show, I believe, in LA. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, we obviously we want to jump ahead. The guys at the 4-3-2-1 lineup, I like to call it, because that's the lineup we had on the 4-3-2-1 album. Okay? We kind of split up. Okay, I kept the band going all through the years after that, but we split up, and we were so big in Hollywood at the Sunset Strip there at the time of the 80s and stuff, that people always were calling me up and going, hey, can you get that, can we do this show, get a show going over here? And, every time we tried to do the show, something didn't work out. We couldn't do it, and this and that, or somebody was busy or doing something else. And they used to call up I'd say every 6 months and try and get us to do a show. So finally, Danny calls me, who was the bass player in the Zeros at that time. He calls me up, he goes, hey, they want to do a reunion show. I go, well, it ain't going to be a good reunion show unless we have all the guys who were in the band at that time, So I mean, that would be the real reunion show, because I had other guys over the years, in the band. It was a real revolving door of Zeros, So so it's like, this was a lineup that wasn't together for a long time. Okay. And, we did a lot of newsworthy events on the Sunset Strip. So that lineup kind of fused its way into like the show, where like, that's what we did. So he called me up and said, "You want to do the show?" And I said, "All right, yeah, I want to do the show." And they were trying to contact me about a show for years already on that, and everybody wasn't around to do it and didn't want to do it. And so I go, "We're not going to do it unless." I go, "I'm not going to do it unless we get everybody who was on that lineup to do it."
Mm-hmm.
So we called up everybody, and everybody, seemed like, we had a real bitter falling out kind of, and
Yeah.
it wasn't too healthy for everybody. And the thing was is that it was on the brink of a lot of good stuff happening for the band, and we had a bitter fall. So we got to talking again, and this was like something that had to be worked on. Okay, it wasn't something that, hey, I'm going to call you up and we're going to do the show and everything's fine. This was a lot of technicalities. This was a lot of differences of how it's going to be worked out and stuff like that. So it was 6 months of situation of trying to get this thing together with these 4 guys. So it finally worked out, and we made a deal where we could do it. Is it going to carry on? I don't think so. The whole thing is that that lineup is all in different places. It's like I tried to get, like I said, the show went over so well at the Whiskey. It was so great. Everybody loved the show that I wanted to continue on and do something with a new album or some kind of new kind of thing that we were going to do, and maybe do some more shows. But the other guys didn't feel up to it to where they were into doing it anymore. And I'm still trying to work on it, but it's obviously the door is closing to where it almost can't be done anymore, because it's almost, they just don't want to do it. So I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, the 2 brothers, they're doing other things, and they got their lives, and you got to remember 30 years passed by, so it isn't overnight. It's like people are involved in different lifestyles and different things. So I've tried, and that's just basically the bottom line. It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that's just it, and there's nothing I can do about it. But we all had a great time, and I think it worked out for the best, and that's everybody has to come on. That's just it.
Yeah, I did watch some of the videos that were out on YouTube and everything. I saw that people had posted some things, and sounded great. I wish I could have been there.
Look, these guys, we grew up together. Okay, we rehearsed every day. I mean, this is like getting on a bike. Okay, this is like, I could get on. I haven't rode a bike in like 20 years. I get on a bike and I'd ride it. It might be a little bit wobbly at first, but I'll get on and I'll ride it. It'll be the same thing, because you rode a bike when you were younger all the time. So like that's why it's a great show, because everybody's fused in and locked into everybody. Just like it took basically 2 hours for us to do that, because we all know each other so well that it's like it's just an easy gig. Playing wise, musically, we're great. Okay, musically we're great. Okay, in the beginning, when we were doing the band, I was basically the guy I wrote the songs for the band. It was like kind of my project. It was like my thing, and the thing is over the years, as we were a band, I guess we started growing apart from each other, and things just got ridiculously crazy enough to where people didn't feel that it was worth it for them to do anymore. So that's where it was. So that ended, and I tried. It's a great thing musically. Okay, we're great musically. We all blend together. It all works out. It's great. Okay, but everything else to get to that 45 minutes of the show is like crazy shit. Okay, it's just it's so crazy shit that no one would ever believe it if I told you. So that's where it's at.
I can imagine. Yeah, that sounds a lot like my band. The one band that I was in, where we were doing good things, and then we talked reunions a number of times, especially when Facebook came out, because all the bands from back then were doing reunions. We wanted to do one. We were always always in favor. one completely against and two that were the swing vote. And I could just never get, everybody over to my side to want to do it. So
Yeah.
I totally understand, but it did sound great from, everything that you went through. It did sound and look good. I was watching
it's
it
a
there.
great, it's a great band. It's a great lineup. It's a great band. And I mean, I tried to keep it together after that gig at the Whiskey to do other things, but it's timing, and it's people's lives and where they're at in their life, and they just don't feel that I guess it's worth it for them to carry on with that, or something like that. Maybe they, their gig,
Sure. So now let's go back in time now. We kind of talked about, the current thing that you did. Let's kind of go back in time. Now, originally, the Zeros are from New Jersey, as we, kind of talked about in our, pre-interview here. And, so you came up, in New Jersey, playing the clubs there, and in New York, you stayed on the East Coast for a while and then ventured west. So we're the beginning gigs and everything. Where were those?
What, in New Jersey?
Yeah, the clubs that you played and the things that you did in New Jersey.
Well, we started the band, and the clubs, the big clubs, the big places to play over in New Jersey that did original music, okay?
Right.
Because there isn't, the clubs over there down the shore in Jersey, there was two categories to New Jersey. There was South Side Johnny and Bruce Springsteen, okay? And then there was the Sex Pistols meets, Blondie and the Ramones and shit like that on the other side. Okay, so the North Jersey side was more like the punk metal glam thing, and the South side of Jersey was the Bon Jersey. You had Bon Jovi, and you had, I mean, the only thing that came out of that South side of Jersey was like, I think Skid Row, which was like a real hard rock band, but yeah. Even further down, it was Southside Johnny, and Bruce Springsteen ruled that area over there. Okay, that was that area. So I mean, the North Jersey side. So up on the North Jersey side, it was the Dirt Club. Okay, in the '80s, the Dirt Club was Bloomfield, New Jersey. It was a well-known club that was like a CBGB's kind of meets Max's Kansas City kind of thing, but it was like. Everybody wanted to play there. It was an original club. They had some great bands that played there. We played there. I mean, Smithereens played there.
Sure.
I was friends with the Smithereens. They played there. There was a few other bands that came out of there that were that played these places. So there was like the Dirt Club. The Hitsville was a big one in Passaic, New Jersey. There was the Loop Lounge. I don't know if they had bands there, but there was Maxwell's, there was the Court Tavern in New Brunswick, there was a lot of places to play, and there was the Jetty over in Bloomfield. So we had a rehearsal spot that we rented. It was two offices that were put together in a office building that we used to go rehearse up there, okay? And we combined the two rooms, and one was a rehearsal room, and then one was a room to bring chicks up. We had after we played, but the thing was we had a folding couch there. I mean, we were just young guys, and we used to do the show and everything, and we used to cart the show. We had a show. We used to bring this brick wall with us, and I remember we used to tumble the bricks down the stairs, and we were on the second floor, tumble it down the stairs, and I was gonna, I wanted to put all this in the documentary of our band, because it is very it's very a cool history about this band. Okay, so there is a big history about this band, and the work that we did to get to where we were, to what happened, to have it fuck up is even more. I could curse on here, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So the other thing is that to have all that happen is like just crazy. So it's we had the two offices up there. We rehearsed over there, and we were going to New York. We're going playing in Bloomfield. We were going into South Jersey. We're doing everything. So that was our club days over there, and that's where it was with the clubs, and shows and stuff.
Right now, how long did you start doing this? Just how long had you been performing, over on the East Coast before you decided it was time to venture west?
Okay. Well, we were doing the East Coast, and we decided we had these day jobs. I told the story. We had these day jobs where it was we were delivering stuff for a company.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Joe had a day job, and we would listen to Howard Stern on the radio, and Howard Stern would get on and do his thing, and
Mm-hmm.
Imus would get on it. Imus would get on in the morning. Okay, so we had the jobs, and we would listen. The highlight of our day was these two guys, because we're driving all day, So there was, the only thing to really do was like drive and listen to radio and deliver your stuff. So we listened to it. And Howard gets on the air and he goes, oh, I'm looking for a theme song for my show. I'm looking for a theme song. I'm looking for a theme song. Every day, come on bitching about the theme song because with a Johnny Carson theme song, and I said, you know what? It's going to be great if I wrote a theme song for Howard Stern and he played it.
Mm-hmm.
So I go, that would be really cool. We would actually maybe get a few steps ahead in the music business. You know what I mean? Thinking that, which didn't happen, but otherwise it was a good thing for us. We played it. We went up there. We cut the song for $50. It was over in Orange, New Jersey. We went up to the studio. I forget the name of the studio. I know the name, but I forget it. But there was a guy named Vito there. Vito, he was the engineer, and he cut the song for us for $50. That's all we had, $50.
Mm-hmm.
But he did the whole song. We did it like in like 2 takes. It was like that. We had people. We had these 2 chicks in the background singing the background, like going Howard Stern, and I think Diane and this is going back, man. Lorraine, Diane and Lorraine. Okay, they were the 2 chicks that were there, which Diane was actually a member of the Zeros for a very short time in a way. I could probably get later, but the thing was, we cut the song, and the next day we go to the radio station, and it's me and Mr. Insane. We go up there, and we're going to New York and trying to get this thing to Howard. So, and we couldn't, it was Rockefeller Center. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but if you've ever been there, but the security's so tight over there that you can't get into you can't get up there. There's no way, you know what I mean? So Jimmy has his brainstorm, he goes, and there's like a courtesy phone there to call upstairs, and the guards are down there where you can't get up. So he goes, this is J.R. Honeycutt, and we're here to buy $1 million worth of advertising. We're here downstairs in the lobby. Can you let us up? And we got the tape. This is like this is only this is so unbelievable. So we go, we climb, we get in the elevator. They bring us like, oh sure, come on up, $1 million worth of advertising. That's like that's like a big thing for them. So we get in the elevator and we go upstairs, and Howard's on the air at that time. We went there when he's on the air. We didn't know what he looked like, and it was just one of those things where we were trying to find him, because we had no idea what the guy looked like. Okay, so we're running around here. So we hear on the radio, they have the radio through the speakers going through the floor, of him being on the show. So I had blonde hair back there, and he's going, oh, Rod Stewart is he saw us coming out of the elevator. We were freaky looking. I mean, it wasn't like we were, not that I am not I'm normal now, but we were really freaky looking back in the day. So I mean, it was like we get out of the elevator, and he's like, Rod Stewart's here. Oh man, check him out. Because I had the same kind of hairdo as like Rod Stewart, and the same big nose. So I guess. And by the way, I want to tell all your viewers that the camera adds 10 pounds to my nose, so it ain't that big. Okay, just want to clarify that to everybody. Okay. So
it adds 10 pounds to my chin. So that works.
Yeah. I figured out when I'm on these podcasts, I look at my nose. I go, Jesus Christ, that's very big. I go, the camera must add 10 pounds to it. So So anyway, so we hear him on the speakers, and he goes, Rod Stewart's here, and we're looking around for him. We can't find him. Then all of a sudden, his door opened up, and it was weird because these radio stations, I guess a lot of people try to get to these guys or whatever. I don't know why, but I guess they're like treated like rock stars, where fans are coming up there, and the door was embedded in the wall. You wouldn't be able to know it was a door. It was just paneling, you know, it was just paneling. You never knew it would be a door. So the door opens up and I see the guy in there and he's talking as I'm hearing it on the thing. So I swing the door open and I toss the tape into him, you know, who the guy was. It was him. I didn't know that. And I tossed the tape in and the security came up by then and carted us out, you know, and threw us out in the street. So then after that, the next day, the song was on the air and he was playing it, you know, because I put a little note in there. Oh, hey, you play the song as much as you want, you know, and this and that. And on NBC only because we had a falling out after that. But it was very fun and it was a very good thing for us. And we got sort of semi-famous, you know, locally, and people liked it and they really loved that song. He loved the song and it was like a good thing for us where, you know, that came around and happened. So it was a fun thing to do, you know, and it worked.
Yeah, I had heard that song a number of times over the years. We used to get him on terrestrial radio in my area. He was on when he was on in DC, we could get him here. And then there was a long time when we couldn't. And then we got him again, like syndicated. But I did hear that song actually, and I was like, wait a minute, it's those guys from the movie. I know. So I had heard it like after the fact, but I was like, okay, this is cool, you know. And you also had written, it says here in your bio that you had written for some other people too, you know, for some other radio people.
Well, that song took off and it was so popular, you know, that the record company, I can get to that later, but the record company recut the song. They recut the song, but I did songs for Imus, okay? I did a song for Imus, all right? He opened with that in the morning. He played that just as much as the Stern song. Nobody really knew that it was the same band, you know what I mean? But it was a good song, and he played that. And then we did a song later down the road for a bunch of other people. I did like it started catching on. I did one for this guy named Jeff. He was in Vegas. He had a radio show there. And then I did one for Ricky Rackman, who was on MTV. Ricky Rackman did a show called Love Line. We did a song for Love Line. So these theme songs started like I could actually make a whole album of just theme songs that I wrote for different people, you know.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Make an album out of it. There's a few other ones I got to think of them, you know, because you do them and like, you know, you put them aside and like there's a few other ones. There's a guy named Jerry who had a TV show. He had a cable show. I did it for him. But that was a good thing because people like calling me up and doing theme songs, you know, for the show because, you know, I was, you know, just like one of those things that I did for fun, and it caught on, you know. So it was like that.
Wonderful. That's really interesting there. That's really interesting. You know, when you leave the East Coast, start to head out west.
Now we went to England. We went to England. Yeah, we went to England to try and make it. Okay, we were in New Jersey. We were and playing New York, and it was like sort of hitting a dead end. And the reason for that was because the New York scene at that time was sort of getting involved in like a dance kind of theme. Okay.
Oh, right.
The clubs were like very dance oriented, very dance, and you couldn't get like, it was like a weird thing because it was like, it was over 21. Okay. And the zeros were really like for, you know, people who were like kids going to the clubs at those days, you know what I mean? But there was the Ritz and there was Danceteria, and they started getting into this like dance nights and stuff like that. So, I mean, the one thing about the dance clubs, which bothered me about the whole thing, when you walked into a dance club, it was the worst BO you could ever smell in a club. It was the worst. It was the worst. It was like walking into like the worst locker room you could ever walk in. I was sitting there going, we got to get out of here. You know what I mean? We just have to get out of here. It just isn't like, you know, it was just, New York was BO. Okay. I'm sorry. piss-ridden gutters and BO clubs, you know, it's just like, so I mean, we had to go somewhere. I go, this is just not for us, man. The people were just older. They were just into, you know, whatever they were doing. They weren't into, like, it wasn't really music oriented, you know, it wasn't music vibe for our kind of stuff. You had CBGBs, you had Great Gildersleeves, you had a few clubs there that were doing it, you know what I mean? But still, it was like, you know, and then Max's Kansas City closed down. You know, that was a great club. But I'm showing my age here, but the whole thing is that you had CB's, you had Great Gildersleeves down the street, and then you had like tracks up on 72nd Street. You had a bunch of places that were like cool clubs to play, you know what I mean? And what was I saying again? Oh yeah, England. Okay, so we decide to sell all our shit. We're gonna sell all our shit, right? Everything that we sold. I mean, I had a van that I bought off of Johnny Dirt, okay, who was the owner of the Dirt Club, for $1,700. I had this big bash in the back, right? It had this big dent in the back, like we were getting pulled over by the cops. We were getting pulled over on the Parkway every 5 minutes because of that dent. So we decided to go to England. We sell all our shit. We go to England and we have nothing. We have just not even, we just have the shirts on our back and our guitars, and we brought some CDs that we made on a label called Mountain Records, which was an EP, the Be a Zero EP. Okay, that was the Be a Zero EP, and they put that out for us, and we decided to go to England with that EP and try and promote ourselves to make it. Okay, like to try and do something like Twisted Sister and the Stray Cats and bands like that.
Sure.
And there was like a younger crowd there that, you know, when you did a show there, it started at 7:00 at night. You know what I mean? So it was like you had the pub where people drank, but everybody who was going to see music went into the other part of the place. And that was the club. So it was like all ages. They didn't have to sell liquor there. They couldn't sell liquor. So it was all ages. You had a bunch of kids and keep people into really into music. So we got into playing the Marquee in London and all these places and stuff like that. And there was one club there that stands out because we were getting so popular there, okay, that Hanoi Rocks, you know them, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hanoi Rocks, the band, ran this club down on I forget where it was, but they ran a club. It was called Gossips, okay, and they were going on tour. So we became friends with them, and they said, "Hey, can you like run the club while we go on do the shows and everything?" And we said, "Sure, man, we'll run the club." You know what I mean? I was like, you know, so we like did it that night, and we played there, and they had great bands there, and that was a good time for us, and we did the Hippodrome there, which wasn't really like, it was like a rock club on certain nights. They filmed us there. They did like a 7-camera shoot at the Hippodrome with us, which I still didn't get to see it, you know, but it was a very cool, it was a very cool thing. They had a bunch of great bands playing there and stuff like that. And the Marquee in London was, you know, I mean, everybody hung out there. You had, you know, I'd go there, you know, hanging out with Jimmy Page. It was like Mick Ronson. It was Johnny Thunders. Everybody was there. You know what I mean? Like everybody was there, and it was like a great scene at that time over in London. So we did that. We got managed by the Marquee guys who own the Marquee Club. They loved our band so much. I even have the show, which is the props that we use for the show down in the band. I wonder if it's still there. I gotta see. He goes, because the guy's name was Simon. He goes, "Hey, look, just go over to France and come back, you know, because our passports are running out." So, and our passports are running out, and they want us to stay there so bad. And I go, "Okay, we'll try and stay. We'll go over to France." I go, "Where am I going to put all this?" Because we brought this show there. We brought the bricks folded down, the boxes. You know, there were boxes, and it all folded down. The show folded down into basically 2 suitcases. We did a song called "Count to 8." We had this big 8, this big blow up 8, which folded down into the thing. Then we had like, we were doing this big show there. So the Marquee guy, the owner he goes, "Just put it down in the basement, man. Just come back, you know, just come back." So the reason why we left England was because the bass player at that time had to go home and we were trying to replace him, and our passports were running out. We went to the it was either go to France or go home, and then move forward. So and come back to England. We were actually going to come back to England. Okay, so the thing is that when we moved, when we came back to the United States, we played again in New York. Same thing, BO City clubs out the, just like hanging around, dance clubs, and there was a few clubs open at that time. It was getting a little bit better. They had the Bank, they had a couple other clubs that were opening up on St. Mark's Place, and at Continental Club and stuff like that. Okay, so then we go into we go into the papers, and we're seeing like this LA scene going on. And you had the bands out there, and the problem with the LA scene was, like, to me, okay, was just like, you had a bunch of bands that looked great, okay, they looked like fucking megastars, but they couldn't play a fucking note. So I go, we got to go out there and just kick their ass, man, because it's gonna be like, a lot of these bands can't play, so it's like, but they look great, they look great. And every band you turn the page, they look great. It was like, and there's only a handful of bands that really had enough talent to play really good, and Poison was out there at that time, and there was Guns N' Roses at that time, and Jet Boy, and LA Guns was there, and there was a few bands out there that we became friends with, and Warrant, and we were just involved in that whole scene there. So, and we went out there in '87. We started playing the clubs and got popular again, like we did in England. And we just did everything, and then everybody started gravitating towards us and saying, they loved us, and the whole thing, and it started getting crazy. I mean, it started where buildings were getting painted purple in our honor because they liked the band. Purple hair. We had a purple car. We were going to paint the street purple. I mean, the coconut teaser was purple. The whiskey was purple. Like, you rode down that strip, I was so proud. It was like I couldn't believe, you know what I mean? Like, a guy who came into town, ride down that strip, see the zeros on the whiskey painted purple of our band. I mean, that was a mega star thing.
That's huge.
That was a huge thing. It was like, the teaser, the whole building was purple. It said the zeros on the chimney. You came up from Crescent Heights. It was like, you couldn't, like, it was just like, it was unreal. So it was, we became very popular there, and we cut the album there, the 4321 album, and we started getting very popular. And the thing is that we went on tour. Okay, we went on tour, the album, and that's when the trouble started happening. Okay, so that's where that ended, that lineup. Okay, Danny left at that thing. He says I threw him out, but that's not true. Okay. He left during that thing. And the thing is, that was one guy down. Okay, so he left. He went back to California, and then it was me and the two brothers. And we were gonna stick it out and get another bass player. But we were on tour and we had shows left to do. There were still shows, about 10 shows on the roster, and we had a big show at Converse because Converse endorsed us, and they made a special seeker for us.
Yeah.
Went up size, yeah, and all that. So we got a replacement for Danny, and we finished the tour out, and then we came back home, and we were going to cut another record, okay, which was the Names record, okay. So we got Toy Stacy on the bass, which replaced Danny, because Danny was taking care of his thing over in Los Angeles. I didn't talk to Danny at that time. So the whole thing was, we got Toy Stacy, and we did the Names record, and we went out. As soon as we were supposed to go out again on this tour, they set up this 60-day tour for us on the Names record, and trouble again. Okay, the brothers didn't want to go out. They didn't want to do it. We were committed to do it, and they didn't want to do it, and it got messy, and it got stupid, and we did it. The opening show was at Gazzari's on the trip, and then we had to do the show, and they didn't show up to the gig, and it turned into and then what happened was we went on the tour ourselves, me and the bass player. So we salvaged the tour as best we could, and then two other guys came in to the tour during towards the middle and finish it up because we were obligated, and I didn't really want to get sued for the. I didn't want to get sued for the
Certainly, yeah.
shows. You know what I mean? So it was like it was a lot of money that went down the drain. It was a lot of momentum blown, and it was this horrible situation for the Zeros. So that really kind of killed it. Okay, and then then after that, I went on my own. I kept the Zeros going with the bass player. We got 2 other guys, and we did Rule the World. Okay, I did Rule the World, the album. We had Jimmy Glitter on guitar. We had Stacy guitar and drums, and we had Toy Stacy on bass. Okay, so it was me, Toy Stacy, and we did Rule the World, and then we went on tour on that record. Okay, back, and then throughout the years, things were just like I kept it going, and with new albums and stuff like that, all the way up to 2022, where the reunion came about now, which made a big splash, and so it was like that, and the original lineup from 4321, Danny and the 2 brothers, we tried to settle our differences and move forward, but they didn't want to take it any further. Danny wanted to do like a show here and there, like spontaneously, like maybe a year from now, or 7 months. I do this. This is what I do. So it's like I don't have a day job where I just I do this. So this is my job. Like, so I got to find guys who want to do it. So it's like I can't wait around like 6 months or 8 months to do another gig, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because when I tried to approach the brothers to do it, a new album, and what my thing was to do was to re-release the 4321 album on vinyl, purple vinyl, and have it open up. Okay, this was the plan. Have it open up and have the other side be the new record. So it would be 4321, purple vinyl, black vinyl on the other side with the new 10 songs with the band, and move forward and make things work and be a band again. That's what I wanted to do. That was my thing. But nobody wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to get involved in it. And it was like I was sitting there. I stayed out in LA for an extra like week to try and get to salvage settle our differences and get a band agreement going where everybody was happy. Okay, and they just blew it off and didn't want to do it, and that's it. And that's really the bottom line. That's why we ain't continuing on with that lineup.
Sure.
Yeah. So now it's just like move forward and move on with another lineup and do the Zeros. Let the people see the Zeros in other places where they couldn't see it. Los Angeles. So.
Right. Yeah, I got to tell you that the 4321 album was the one that I bought back then when I heard of you and I'd seen you and everything, and it's a great album. I got to tell you, the thing is that, and the one kind of rap that I guess you would call I guess the 80s era LA bands, or a lot of people call them the hair bands or whatever. They kind of get this a rap that they're.
I like what Danny said about it. He goes, there were poodle metal bands, poodle hair bands. I'm like, what is that? I never heard that saying before.
There was I can tell you some stories when we wrap up. I'll tell you after we're done. I'll tell you a couple of stories about that. But the album itself, a lot of people had this image, and especially people who aren't musicians themselves. I kind of refer to them as non-performers as consumers or civilians. They don't really know what goes into something, but there is some. You guys were not just a bubblegum. You had the 4321 song, the intro, grindy popish stuff, but you really had some good writing throughout that album.
Yeah.
There were some really well-written songs on there. And that was one of the things I really enjoyed about that, that album. And I listened to it, I get it out and listen to it. And It's great. It's great. I mean, that was a job well done. I just wanted to tell you that, I mean, I know
I appreciate it. I wrote all the songs on 4-3-2-1. I wrote
yeah.
all the songs with zeros. I
Mhm.
mean, the whole thing is that I always had a knack for that, I guess. And the thing was, I never tried to pigeonhole myself into a one category thing. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It was always like if you liked all the bands that I admired were the bands that basically did metal, rock, punk, uh, ballad
Mhm.
kind of, like the Beatles. They could do
Yes.
this, do that.
Mhm.
So that's what I kind of grew. My influences come from all that, and even musicals. Musicals. I grew up in a musical family where my mother would listen to, it would be the Sound of Music all day. It would be West Side Story, West Side Story, Oklahoma. I grew up with
Mhm.
all that stuff. So that all triggered. I love that stuff. It was great. Rodgers and Hammerstein's.
Mhm.
Rodgers and Hammerstein, one of my favorite writing part duos. I mean, it's just like those guys are real writers. Okay, Paul McCartney, John Lennon are real writers. Okay,
Mhm.
Sammy Serious, real writer. Okay, it's just like I just
Oh
like
yeah.
those are my influences. I mean, like that's what I grew up on. I never was like a guy that wanted to like gear myself at the one, and that's what that was a double-edged sword with the record companies. Okay, because they are real. First of all, I'm just gonna say this. Every record company I dealt with, all right,
Mhm.
except for a chosen few people in a record company, and usually they're way up there where you can't get to them, are just stupid motherfuckers. Okay, these guys that run these that got the key to the gate to get you signed or to get you something. They don't know fucking shit. Okay, they're just like a
Mhm.
guy. They're just a guy got a job. Their uncle works there. Whatever they did, they know nothing about music. Okay, I'm not afraid to say it. They know nothing about anything. They're just stupid motherfuckers, and they think they know everything, and they come up with these fucking ideas and that what something you should do. Okay,
Mhm.
something you should do. Not everybody in the record company. Okay, but the people who usually hold the gate key to get you in, they
Mhm.
come up with these fucking ideas that are just like they're just insane. And you sit there and go, "You're not serious." I'm serious, but you're not serious about this. You know what I mean? You're just not. This can't be real. You can't
Mhm.
be like you. I think they're joking when they say it. So that is like one of the problems with record companies back in that day. You couldn't get past the pigeonhole thing of like being one category and just being one thing for them to bring in. If you
Mhm.
were a band like the Police or someone or someone like that had more to them than just like a rock or this or that. Those were the bands that were the hardest ones to break the ice through the company. They were the hardest ones. They always got the slack for, they always got the problem, because they were the ones that did different kinds of songs, but yet it all fit together in their band. And that's what the problem was back then. So if you were a band like that, you were sunk on getting signed because if you got to the president guy or a really great A&R guy that really knew his shit, then it would be a different story. But if you didn't and you got to some lower level guys that were or chicks that worked there that thought they were A&R guys or whatever, they were or people that worked in the company that were just like, they got lunch for the guys. They all think they got some kind of like power to get you in there and got some kind of thing to get you signed. So
Right.
that doesn't work like that. So I mean, it's just like those bands are just the hardest ones,
Mhm.
break the ice. So
Right. Right. But yeah, but like I said, I just wanted to give you credit where it's due. I mean, there was some excellent writing on that record. And I
I
just,
appreciate it.
it's very, very well done.
I gotta thank Rodgers and Hammerstein and Alice Cooper and David Bowie and
Mhm.
the Beatles and the Stones and everybody and the Who and everybody I grew up with I mean when you put on a record back then it was a real album. I mean it was like it was real songs, real album. It was
Mhm.
real stories. It was like things that meant something. When you listened to it, it wasn't something that was like it just wasn't like the way a lot of bands were just like, it got to a point where like, hey, let's throw this against the wall and see if that works. Let's throw this against the wall. So that's where it was like. And if you notice, like even the bands like, Guns N' Roses and stuff like that, and all the other bands from the script, they're bands like that too. They got their slower songs, they got good hard rock songs, it's like a good variety of writing, so it's like that's where it's at, I think.
Great vocals too. Great harmonization. That's
harmonies are a big part of a rock band. I mean, you got to have harmonies, and especially if the songs are melodic, you want to have a good harmony, go with.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. So, and there was a couple of other things that kind of caught my eye here because in the bands I was in, I was always the driver, and I wanted to ask about this '68 Chevy Nomad wagon, the Zero Mobile. Was that something that was your band truck, or was that just a
that started it's funny because when we first got to Los Angeles, we had an Impala, which was like this big ass car. You could fit a whole every piece of equipment in that trunk. I mean, it was the biggest, right? So that blew up on us, right? So I find out the guys at Conway Studios, okay, they're on Mel. I find out the guys on Conway Studios got this Chevy wagon, okay, and we go over there. I go over there and I bought it for $600 fucking dollars. Like I bought Malibus back in the day when I was growing up for $100. You can't even touch these cars. You can't even touch these cars like now for like, $45,000. I'm sitting there going, I had like 10 of these cars. I was just buying them, they were $100 each. I remember people were buying. I had a Barracuda, which was like, I wish I never got rid of them. But anyway, the car they had a studio over there called Conway, and the guy was selling the car. And I bought it for $600. And we used it to bring our equipment around. So the car looked really cool. It was a really cool car. It was like a Chevy. It had a Chevy Malibu front end, right? With a Nomad back, okay? But it had a Concorde roof. It was a prototype of these three cars that they put together at GM, right? So the thing had it had a 6-cylinder, and it was 3 on the tree, okay? It was like 3 on the tree. And I said, we got to do this car. The car looked so sharp. I saw it before it was painted up, and the whole thing with the tires and everything, where I just said, this is so cool. If we suit this thing up, I mean, this would be really a cool car. All right. And that's how that came to be the Zero Mobile. And we, drove around in that in Los Angeles and became a staple of our thing. We did it all up. We did the car all up. We got it painted. Joe Normal was very good. He was very good at like roof lining and doing the things on the carpet on the doors and everything. It looked totally pro. I couldn't believe, I couldn't believe he did. And then we got the seats done. We got everything done in there. We painted it up with ourselves. We painted the dashboard, painted all this stuff, and it became such a cool thing that we started using it for shows. And then we did a Halloween show. Okay, we did a Halloween show at Music Plus, okay? It was a Halloween show. So they had the barricades there, right, where we came in. And the thing is that I said, what would be really cool? I don't know if you ever saw the movie Bye Bye Birdie, okay?
Yeah.
But I don't know if you ever saw that. But, Conrad Birdie comes in with his motorcycles, okay? This is like so trashy. He comes with his motorcycles and, he's coming in with and then he knocks down all his shit and he's going to play. You know what I mean? I go, this is what we got to do. We got to come in with the car, right, and everything, and blow down these. They had these big, what do you call them? Those street things that were, the street, whatever the hell they call it. So anyway, we run them down. We get to the stage. We get out of the car. It was really a great thing. It was cool. So that was like a lot of fun. So I had my Halloween mic stand, which was made of pumpkins at that time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty. But that's when we did that's when the record. We did a signing party at the Music Plus there.
Oh, is that right? That's cool. Now, I wanted to ask you too. Again, you going back a little bit was how did you get those shoes made by Converse?
Yeah, what happened was in New York, everybody wore Converse sneakers.
Oh yeah.
all the punk bands, everybody was in a band.
Mhm.
That was the thing. That was everybody wore that. That was a thing to wear in New York. Okay, so we were. I was like saying the sneaker, and I think we met the guy. We called up Converse. Okay, I called him up. I said, you know what, we got to make a sneaker that is like that's different, you know, but still Converse. Okay, and we that would fit our band, you know, and I go, can you make a sneaker, you know, that goes up to your knee, you know, and the guy gets on the phone. His name was Peter. Okay, I'm still friends with him today, and I got to call him up to. He was Peter. He worked at Converse. Okay, and he knew all the bands there, like Aerosmith. He was
Mhm.
friends with them, friends with them. So he gets on the phone with me and he goes, "Hey, what's going on? You playing a band, this and that?" I go, "Yeah, we're in the Zeros." And I was wondering if we could make a sneaker that went up higher than a regular size sneaker, you know? He goes, "Oh, hold on." You know, so he gets you know, on the phone, he goes, "I'm gonna send you, you know, tell me what you want to do and I'll make it." Because he was like a guy there that made this stuff like for big basketball players, like he, you know, very like, you know, Shaq, all these people that were endorsed by Converse. He made their shoes. Like they would tell him what they wanted, and he would design the shoe, and then bring it to them and tell them and see if they liked it. If they approved it, then they'd start making the line of the shoe. So we sent them. I sent them the drawing. Okay, and it was, you know, one was a high top. We called it a high top, I guess, because it was called a sky top. We called it because we didn't want to use the word high top because, you know, there was already a high top. So we called it sky top, and that went up to your knee. So then I said, let's take this like one step further. No pun intended. Okay. So it's like, let's say it's one step further and make a thigh top, like one that goes all the way up to your, you know, let's make that. So I even had to get, so they make it for us, right? And they love the band, you know, they love the band. They started making all these shoes for us and everything. And he gave me like you know, like 200 pairs to give out at Christmas time. And it was like, just like we were endorsed by them. They endorsed us. Okay. So we had a deal with them, and we only wore their shoe. And it was a great thing because we designed our own shoe for our band. Okay. Now they're in all the malls if you see them.
Mhm.
Okay. You
Mhm.
can see them in the mall. They had a thing where they were in all the malls. So that was like way later though. That was like 10 years later. So like the whole thing, I guess it took that's how far ahead of time we are, you know.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
10 years. It took 10 years for it to get into the malls. So I see all these kids walking around with them. So I used to have that was a really cool. We really had a lot of good things going for our band. And the thing was I used to actually hire uh, a girl to lace them up for me because
Yeah.
it was like I used to sit there. I just couldn't do it. It was like
Mhm.
you know, I had to hold my legs straight out. You know, they
Mhm.
had to lace them all up. So that was one of the problems to it. But then I conquered that. Okay,
Mhm.
I said let's put a zipper in the back. Okay, and I can keep
Yep.
them laced up, right?
Mhm.
I can keep them laced up and then just put them on the bottom and zip them up. And they did that for me, and that was a cool thing. So I mean, like there was a lot of good things that happened for us, you know, and a lot of real like a lot of people really were behind the Zeros, you know. I got to say that, and Converse is one of them.
That's really
And we,
cool. I mean, I could just imagine, you know, I was just kind of thinking about, you know, how in the hell did they get that done? I mean, I know it had to be more than just one phone call. You know, you call up there, hey, can you make these shoes for us? No, goodbye.
well,
You know, but
I guess it was more than one phone call, but
yeah.
it seemed like when I talked to the person, it
Mhm.
was like, hold on a minute. They knew the guy right to get to him. You know, it was like
Oh,
one of those things.
sure. Mhm.
They knew the guy that was doing that. So the receptionist just put me right through to him.
Mm.
So I mean, they must have thought we were a bigger band than what we were, but we weren't. Okay,
Mhm.
we were just getting signed. Our album was just coming out, and I think we had them before the album. I'm not sure. It was before the album, yeah. But when we
Mhm.
did the album, that's when we did. they made this big event for us at their company to play their company, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what happened there. And
Right.
then that, then from then on, we just kept, having the shoes, and they'd send me shoes all the time and everything. They were real nice about it. And then it was a good thing for us, that shoe thing. I never had to buy shoes again, to tell you the truth.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
it was people that went over to Timberland,
Mm-hmm.
and also that I knew that were sending me Timberland shoes, and they're expensive shoes, man.
Mm-hmm.
Timberland shoes. So I was getting them too. So we were endorsed by a bunch of companies, the Zeros. We had Gibson guitars we were endorsed by. We were endorsed by Fender guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Yamaha amplifiers gave us endorsement. We had Shure microphones gave us an endorsement. We had it all. We had all those people like very behind us. They loved the music. They loved the band.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us like all these endorsements. And we even had a Manic Panic endorsement, the Dye Your Hair Purple. Tish and Snooky on St. Mark's Place.
Mm-hmm.
They had a store there. We used to go in, and they would make us the our Plum Manic Panic, which was pretty cool. So that we had everybody behind us. It's really a shame when I think about the band,
Mm-hmm.
because it was very talented and very good. So
It definitely were. And also Ampeg was another one. I'm an Ampeg man myself. Yeah.
Danny had an Ampeg endorsement.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few other ones that were pretty crazy too. Or pretty crazy endorsements, but I got to think of them. As I think of them, I'll jump in and take what they were,
Yep. One question I like to ask a lot of the musical guests that I have on is, and every band's had them, or else they would have never made the movie. Did you ever have any Spinal Tap moments?
Oh, well, what band doesn't, right? I mean,
yeah.
That whole bitter end thing I told. Oh, did I tell you that story?
You said the bitter end was the bitter end, but I didn't remember you elaborating.
It was the bitter end. It was the bitter end. It was like 20 below zero. But I'm gonna tell you this story. We had a show at the bitter end in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is we were gonna do the show at the bitter end, and I mean, the one thing you want to do when you're in a band, you want to play. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, it ain't like, it's like you're looking forward to that show, and to get a gig at the bitter end. I mean, this is where all the big people played
Mm-hmm.
in New York, was the bitter end. All right. And I guess it was called that because after they played the bitter end, they got discovered and made it. But the problem is that we were in New Jersey, and we were going to play this show, and this weather was so insane. I think it was like in January or February, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jersey, for some reason, gets these cold spells of like Canadian air that comes down. Okay. And it gets cold. I mean, it is like you can't even sit on your car seat. It's so if you got those pleather seats, whatever they are. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just like you're sitting on a block of ice. And we took there was weather conditions, and it started snowing. Okay. So we're there like, oh no, here we go. Right. Another fucking problem. And it snowed so hard. I mean, it was like 2-3 feet of snow in like an hour. You know what I mean? It was like insane. And not Mr. Insane, mind you. It was insane. So the thing is that it was so bad that we're sitting there going, we got to do this show. I mean, we got to do the show because we look forward to playing a show all month. You get one show a month, in New York at the bitter end. You're not gonna ruin it, and you got to get there. All right. Mm-hmm. I go, let's go for it, man. We're gonna go for it. You know what I mean? And it was unbelievable. Cold winds, just like ice, hail, whatever could happen happened. Okay, and it was just so bad that we couldn't even like pull the van into the parking lot. Everything was like snow blocked. It was just like high. The plows would come. It would be like 10 feet of snow there. So you had to like you had to speed up, like 20 miles an hour and bash through the snow. And luckily it was soft, but you had to bash through it in order to get the spot. In front of the. So we go, we do that, and there's like nobody there. All right. We're sitting there going, we fucked up. I mean, now it's like, we're sitting there, we paid the toll, we had we lug all the shit in there, we lug all the equipment in there, and there's like there's nobody in there except this one chick, okay, and one guy in the back. This one chick was sitting in the front, and this one guy was in the back. And we get up there and we play, all right, we play. And I'll never forget the guy in the back was from Atlantic Records. We didn't know that. Okay. And the chick in front was just a girl who admired Joe and came to the gig. You know what I mean? Like, she loved Joe and she came to the gig. And Joe has this, he takes this fucking candle, right? It's like this big candle, and there's like tons of wax in it, right? From being on the table burning, So he decides he's gonna play slide guitar with it, right? And he decides. Wait, I'm getting the text here. Let me wait till it disappears. Okay, so he decides he's gonna play slide. We're in the middle of this show, right? And he takes the candle and starts whipping it around on the guitar, and it goes all over this chick, hot wax, right? All over her dress, like all over her shit, and she takes a shit fit, right? So she takes a shit fit, and now it's like, oh no, now we got another problem. This chick's gonna fucking, kick our ass and like, some kind of like, compensation for her dress or whatever, and we had no money, we didn't have anything. So the guy in the back was from Atlantic Records, so she's going at it, and now Joe starts dating her. All right. He starts talking to her, dating her to get out of it or whatever he was trying to do, like, because he was sorry about it. We were sorry about it. It wasn't a good thing. And I guess she came there and she liked Joe, so then he dated her, and I guess that it saved us from paying for her dress or whatever. But the guy in the back was from Atlantic Records, and he loved the band. Okay, he loved the fucking band, and it was our saving grace of that show. Okay, and he goes, I'm Jason from Atlantic Records, man. I'm gonna fucking sign you guys. You guys are fucking great. And I go, and I'm like just stunned, because I never thought the one guy would be from the record company and be there for us, or be there for somebody else and just happen to catch us. So he made us our demos, and he made us our everything, and when we went in the studio, we cut all these tracks, and it was just a great thing. And we went up to all these parties, and Jake Giles and all these bands were there, and it was like this a fucking great thing, because we were just like, we didn't know anything about the scene then. And we cut all these demos and everything. So we were so outrageous. Okay, he was scared to bring us to the president of the company.
Right.
He's scared. It was like, we were so fucked up. It was like we had these nipple suits on. We called them ouch-proof clothes. We designed these clothes because if we took a spill on the stage, they would protect us, because they had shock absorbers on them. So they were like, we invented those clothes for that reason. They had shock absorbers, because I would take a spill, I wasn't thinking, and take a spill, so the thing would like, work as a knee pad.
Yeah, right.
But they caught on to where it was like this new fashion. See, that's another story. I mean, like, you caught on. I didn't even know it. But so he signs, and he goes, look, I just can't bring you. The guy's name was Doug Morris, right? He was in Atlantic. He goes, I just can't bring you to Doug Morris, man. It's like, he's just gonna flip out, man. He just can't. Yeah, I know he can't handle it. It's like, it's between. Look, he goes, Sammy, I got two tapes here. One's you, and one's Talus.
Yep.
Billy Sheehan's
flow,
band.
yeah.
I didn't know what Talus was at the time, all right, but it was Billy Sheehan's band. Right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm gonna give him Billy Sheehan's band first. You know what I mean? Like I go, well, all right, go ahead and do that. And that was that. So like he did that, and then we went over to England. So that's where that fused together, those two stories with Atlantic Records and us going to England. Okay. So I was calling them. I was calling them every day. Okay. I was calling the guy every day. I was sitting there going, come on, what's going on, man? What's going on at the table? You know, you got to bring it to Doug, you know, and I knew he was just like frightened as shit to bring it to, because these guys, you know, you got to remember these guys, even if they thought they were really good, even Twisted Sister had that problem. Even if you thought they were really good, when I saw Twisted Sister, man, I thought they were going to be the biggest thing, and they had the hardest time getting signed, you know. And I was sitting there going, you know, if I own a record, I'm going to sign these guys in 3 seconds. But the thing was with the story with the Atlantic, it's like he said that he goes, I'm trying to call him, and I'm on the phone, and every day I'm trying to call him, and he's not taking the call. So that's where the song comes in on Names, Volume 1, Waiting for Jason. That's what that's about. So that's how that song was written, because we were waiting for Jason, and we were waiting. And he just like, I think he dropped the ball because he knew that he just couldn't bring us to Doug. And it was just like, it wasn't going to happen. So that's what happened with that. Because, you know, if you look at the other bands, you know, that had, like, even Twisted Sister, like, they were selling out the, you know, everywhere in New York, big places, and nobody would even. I go, these guys are crazy, you know, for not signing this. And then they become the biggest thing, you know. That's just a perfect example of how it works, you know.
I had an act that was from around my area. They're called DC Star. That used to play with them quite a bit. They told me some really interesting stories about, you know, being backstage with those guys.
I heard of them. I think I heard of them.
Yep, I've had Dave Simmons and Glenn Jones, the drummer, on not too long ago, and a lot of great stories with those guys too. They're going to come back again, but just you know, a lot of, you know, because they were both based in this area and then up in New York City too. They played a lot up there as well, and they actually had a house up there where they would stay when they would, you know, play in that area. And you know, a lot of great, you know, I've heard a lot of you know, great stories about Twisted Sister. Those guys were nuts, you know.
Well, I used to go see them all the time. I mean, it was like when I was growing up. I mean, like, we used to see them, and we used to see the Good Rats. And we used to see there was another band in Jersey, T. Roth, and there was another band. These bands were like the staple of Jersey original music, kind of like, you know, they're like on the fence of catapulting their way out. And you know, it's just like Jersey is just like it's just a weird city. It's like a weird state. It's a weird state for music. It's good. It's a good state. A lot of talent comes out of there, but for getting signed and doing stuff and being an original act and stuff like that, it's a hard road over there. You know, I do got to say, you know.
Same thing in Maryland.
What?
Same thing in Maryland too. You know, it was
the cover thing overrides the original thing. So if you're in a cover band, you're going to get hired way faster than you are an original band, because everything to a club is like, you know, how many people you draw or what do you do? You know what I mean? So if you're an original band, you're trying to, you know, make your mark, and you got to promote and you got to do things and get people down there and stuff like that. So it's very sometimes.
You'd mentioned Hammerjacks earlier.
Well, I played there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you the story. I get a call to play Hammerjacks, and it's opening for Dee Snider.
Okay.
He was in a band called Widowmaker. He was doing a band called Widowmaker. All right. And it's opening for him, and they go, do you want the gig? I go, fuck, I want the gig. Yeah, sure. This is like, you know, this is great to play with Dee Snider. You know, we both got the same size nose. But you know, Dee's a great guy. You know, I had a lot of fun playing there and meeting him, and you know, I guess I could say I'm friends with him, but you know, I saw him out through the years, you know, different places and stuff like that, and we talk and stuff like that. So,
did you ever play DC?
What?
Did you ever play in DC?
Yeah, we played. You know, I think there was a place called the Bayou.
Yeah, the Bayou. Yeah. Yeah, that was a great club, and I actually had the original. I had a fellow who was one of the owners prior to 1980 as a guest, told me a lot of great history of that place.
Wasn't it built on a swamp or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like built. The water was still underneath the foundation or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I heard that story or something like that.
Yeah. See, the thing that I had noticed too, and you were just talking about, covers versus originals. Baltimore had some great clubs and a hell of a lot of talent there, but the problem was that Baltimore wouldn't know original if it smacked it in the face with a frying pan, and that's what it was like. DC was a lot more open to originals and, kind of doing your own thing and going down there and being unique and everything. And a lot of great places down there to play too. The 930 Club was another one. I didn't know if you ever had an opportunity to play there.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that one.
Yeah. You had mentioned in your bio that you had performed with, a lot of people, everybody from Guns N' Roses to Peter Noone, Dee Snider, Blue Oyster Cult. Well, I wanted to ask a little bit about, those are some great acts right there. Did you ever get a chance to meet or perform with, anybody else that you may have considered like one of your idols or heroes, somebody you really looked up to coming up?
Well, when I was growing up, my heroes were like guys like that were in the England bands. All right.
Yeah.
And for the exception of like Alice Cooper and I sort of gravitate to the guys who have the same nose as I do. You know what I mean? We'll have the same big nose, like Pete Townsend. So the thing was, I grew up with. I was a blues guy.
Okay.
I was heavy into the blues at one time. I was heavy into Johnny Winter. I was heavy into Alvin Lee. I was heavy into Rick Derringer. All the blue guys, Muddy Waters. I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was into the shock rock thing. Okay. I was into the Alice Cooper, David Bowie, the glam thing, Sweet, all that stuff, and the Who, the Beatles, the Stones. I mean, the Police. I mean, all the way from like the Pistols, the Ramones, the Pretenders. It's sort of anything that was good, I liked. Okay, it was good. So I mean, like it wasn't like I just like was like had tunnel vision on and I just wanted to listen to one thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If stuff was good, it was good, So the blues stuff, like, and then there was your bands like Uriah Heep and
oh yeah.
I mean there was bands like that and Captain Beyond, I remember. And I remember I bought a Grateful Dead album. I didn't know it was a Grateful Dead album because the thing was when you went to the record store, right? You looked at the album cover. Oh, this might be cool. You know what I mean? And the Grateful Dead had this guy with an ice cream cone on their head. It was like this big cartoon. I thought it was gonna be like this metal album. It was like a double album. I thought it was like this metal. I turned it on. It's like Trucky and Truck, and they're like, "Oh, this is cool," but this ain't my thing right now. So it was like, it was good music, but it was just like I was just sitting there going, I brought the album back because I didn't know what it was. But all those guys, like that's really kind of my influences in musicals. It's like musicals and just trashy stuff too. You know what I mean? Like just fun, trashy stuff and What was the question again?
Oh, just kind of having an opportunity, to get out and perform or open for somebody that you had really looked up to.
Yeah, well, those were bands when we got to open up for the Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh yeah,
and we got to play with even like Pauly Shore. We got to open up for comedians.
Yeah,
and that was great because I was into comedy too. I love comedy, so it was like when he played. I mean, we opened up for him at a show at a college, and there's a bunch of people we opened up for. I just have to think about it and remember. But the ones that like Guns N' Roses, they were playing around the same time we were playing around. They were playing the clubs we were, so they weren't really Guns N' Roses yet. but they were on their way, because when I heard their album, I had a little tape deck up my, we had a 1-room apartment that we rented, and we
Mhm.
were all living, we were all living in it, trying to make it. Okay. This is on in Hollywood. And, someone gave me the Guns N' Roses album, on tape to listen to, because, they wanted me to see what I thought of it. You know what I mean? I just couldn't believe it was the same fucking band I used to go
Yeah.
see. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, I remember this, but it was so cool, because it was like this, it had this edge to it, man. And it was just like really like just this hard ass rockin' stuff. And I remember like actually like listening to it and like banging my head there, like to the, like where it was a metronome on the beat. And that was like just like a really phenomenal record. And we used to get all the records like when someone was signed, Faster Pussycat, okay, another band.
Yep.
They had a record out, that came out, and we everybody in other bands got their album, before it was released. So that was like a cool thing to be able to listen to it and see what you thought of it, and like gave your little 2 cents of what it was worth.
Right. Right.
But a lot of all those bands were great bands. They really were. They really knew how to play, and they really like knew how they really knew how to do what they were doing, and there was a lot of talent going on in that scene on the Sunset Strip, which was pretty amazing for that scene to be that big and have all that talent come out of there,
Oh yeah.
Like,
You're absolutely right about that. So as a performer, as a writer, as somebody who creates, all kinds of music and everything, is there anything left on your bucket list? I'm sure, you don't seem like you have any signs of slowing down or stopping or anything, but what kinds of things do you think you have as a performer or as a writer or anything on your bucket list?
Well, the way it sits now with the music industry, the way it is, there isn't really much to be made in music. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like your bread and butter really comes from touring and playing shows and your merchandise. Okay. It's great. If you have the songs, that's great. And people will come to the show if you have the songs because they want to hear them. But the way the internet sits with the music and the way it comes across with the payments of it and stuff like that, it's very hard for bands to make any kind of like, before when you went on tour, you had tour support, you had the record company give you money to get you started, shows, anything like that. So it's kind of difficult on that. But what's on my bucket list? I mean, I'm always recording new records because, and I'm coming out with an album. I'm too lazy to make it because it's like, I hate to say that. It's just like, I'm lazy only because the money that has to go into it, I know I'm never going to get back out of it, So it's like, or even if it, like when you hear these bands or these people and they go, oh, they're #1 with a bullet on iTunes. Like, I don't think that really like makes any real kind of like big money to where they can really do whatever they do. It's really the fans that come out to the shows. That's what I was trying to do with the original lineup of the Zeros.
Sure. Yeah.
We have a solid, really unique fan base that just won't die. Okay. These people live for the Zeros. They live for the lineup. They live for everything. And, I mean, it's like, that's what I was trying to do, make a new record and come out with that, and give these fans something that they really, new music from an era of like rock, which is like not around to a point where it's like kind of faded away. But when you hear new music of rock now or bands now, they just don't have the tunes. Okay. It's just like, it's like, what the hell is going on here? So it's like, a lot of them don't have the tunes. So what you got to do is rely on some old guy, like some older guy like Mick Jagger, the Stones, and or Ozzy, you know what I mean, or someone cool to come out with an album, you know what I mean. So you got a fix of like something that'll hold you over. That's new stuff, and you could grasp onto it and get into it.
Mhm.
You know, so that's what I was trying to do with that double album from the Zeros. I don't know if we talked about it. I think we talked about it off the air, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the Zeros, I had this idea of the original lineup, and what I was going to do was I was going to cut the album in vinyl, okay, purple vinyl of the 4321 album, have it open up like like an album like the Sergeant Pepper album, like a fold, and
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
other album, have the new album,
On black, yeah.
I know other bands are going to steal this now that I'm on. They're going to steal it, okay? I know that because everything I think of, fucking someone steals it. So now it's like have the new album
Mhm.
on the other side on black vinyl with all new songs, a new recording, and put it together and make this album. That's what that was my goal to do. All right, I wanted to do that, and then go out and play shows in states. And they do these cruises now
Oh,
where
yeah, yeah.
they do these cruises that they invited us on to, and that would be a great thing for us to do. I'd like a
Mhm.
cruise, get the album out there and have it and stuff like that with new songs and also the 4321 album on vinyl that they could have. And that was I thought that would be a great thing to do, and I tried guys to do that, and they said no. So like
Right.
they want to do it. They said we're not doing the Zeros anymore. It was a one-off thing.
Mhm.
They said it was a one-off thing, and we don't want to do it anymore. And I said, well, I think you're making a big mistake because it's like you've got a big fan base and people love the band and everybody loves the music. So why would you not want to do it? So it was like that. So it was a bummer. It was a bummer for me, and it was a bummer for a couple of people that I know, and it just like it didn't happen. So
Right.
and I did try my hardest to get these guys to do that,
Mhm.
and that's really the end of it. So there's
Yeah.
nothing I could do anymore. There's nothing I could do about it. It's a done deal, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. And the only thing I could say to all the people who supported the Zeros, is come and see the Zeros. It's going to be me with, three other guys. I'm sure Danny will be around to do some stuff in Hollywood. I know he's not going to go on any kind of touring or anything
Mhm.
because he got a job and he works his job, and that's what he's doing. So he don't have the time to do that, but he can do some shows in Hollywood. And if that comes to a point where we do shows now, I'm sure Danny will join us on stage
Mhm.
and it won't be a problem. It's just the two brothers are very adamant about not doing it, and I tried to discuss that with them, and it's just not going to happen. So to the
Right.
fans, I hope they support us. I hope when we go out, it's not going to be the 4-3-2-1 lineup. But I can guarantee it's going to be a kick-ass lineup because I don't play with shit people. So it's
Right.
like there's no way, and I'm sure like it's going to be a very good lineup and with a very good sound. So I'm not trying to like to sell anybody on it, but that's just the choice and that's just the way it is. And that's what I do. I do music and this is what I do. So
I'd expect nothing less, Have you ever
if you can hear the songs, right? If you can hear the songs
Mhm.
and there's four guys with purple hair and it's the Zeros, I mean, I think it's a great thing. It's just not going to be the 4-3-2-1 lineup. That's all.
Right. Yeah, I was looking at your website here, and it's a treasure trove of your material. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that you have on here. You have a boatload of albums. You've got even that, and you're also the Serious Suicide Band on there as well. Would you want to tell us a little bit about your website, where to find it, and
Yeah,
that sort of thing?
well, there's three you could go to 4321thezeros.com, okay?
Mhm.
Or you could go to sammyserious.com, which is easy, okay? And those two names you can type in, it'll come right up. You can buy our albums on there. There's videos on there of us. I mean, old videos, new videos, and you can buy the albums on there. And I'll be coming out with a new album, which I was going to do, which I wrote during the pandemic because the pandemic was a great opportunity to sit by yourself and do nothing. so,
Yeah.
so it was like, I wrote 2 albums during that time period, and I'm going to record them, and there's a bunch of cool songs on it, and I'm going to release that. And one album, it's called Ha 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 Ho 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 He He He. That was the one I was trying to get. I was trying to do this for the longest time, but that pandemic really just ruined everything for everybody. And you know, it built it. That was the album, but that built into 2 albums of material. So now I'm going to put out another album with that and do that. And that'll probably be a Zeros album. I'm going to try and make it Zero. But if it's not, it'll be a Sammy Serious album, depending on what happens.
Great.
But, yeah. So that's
great. Well, Sam, it's been a real pleasure having you on tonight. I really appreciate you being willing to take the time to come talk to us here on Fowl Players Radio. Please.
Also, I wanted to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to be hitting Nashville pretty soon.
Oh, okay.
And I got some country songs, they're like, so I wanted to get a song across, like sort of the good, the bad, and the Sammy,
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? So I got a little whistling tune, So I got. I can't whistle. Let me get my whistle out. Dry. I gotta dry.
Very good. Bravo.
I'll be playing that tune in Nashville.
Bravo.
And, yeah. And I'll be doing that with a few other songs. So and I got my 10-gallon hat and I'm ready.
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm coming to you, Nashville. So be ready.
Excellent. Well, the way gas prices are now, you may want to cut it down to a 3-gallon hat. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but,
right. I'm gonna get my 10-gallon hat. I got a quick story. You want to hear it?
Sure, please, by all means.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
We're in Texas, okay? We're in Texas, and the one thing I wanted to do in Texas when we were playing and touring was to get an authentic cowboy hat. Okay, it was an authentic cowboy hat. It was like I wanted a cowboy hat, a real one, right? So we go into this. We're in Houston. Okay, we go into they have these stores, they have these hat places on the highway there, these big hat places where you can get a hat. And Danny, okay, this is really funny. Danny gets this shirt in Texas that says, "Fuck you, I'm from Texas," right? It says that on the shirt. He buys this T-shirt there, like a souvenir shirt, right? And we go to the store, and I'm in the store like looking around, and I mean, these guys in that store were big. They were like Marlboro guys, like you saw on the poster. They were shit kicking guys, man. They were fucking around. And he walked into the store. This is funny. He walked into the store and says, "Fuck you, I'm from Texas" on there. And these guys flip out and start chasing him. They start chasing him out of the store. Right? And I'm there like, what's going on? I thought I was gonna get my ass kicked there. And then these I'm running out because I didn't know what was going on. So he jumps we had this Winnebago, He jumps in there, and they start taking off, and they're leaving me. I'm running after the Winnebago, and they're like I'm trying to get in the door, I'm trying to get in the door. These guys they know that now they're figuring out I'm with these guys, So it was like now it's like, move, let's go. I jumped in and I got out of there, man. But it was I wish I got the hat. They had this great purple suede hat there that was like, I wanted to get, but that's one of my Texas stories there.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Sammy, again, thank you so much for coming and being with us tonight. We really appreciate your time. And SammySerious.com, 4321thezeros.com. Check out his music. It's, he's got some excellent stuff on here. And I was going through and listening, and, lots of great, even the Serious Suicide Band as well. Some really great stuff there as well.
That was a side project I did.
Mm-hmm.
That combined horror with rock. I wanted to combine horror with rock, and I wanted to play guitar in that band. So
right.
I play guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I play guitar, but I never got a chance to really play guitar because all the guitar I front the zero, so it's like I never got a chance to play guitar. So then there was the singer Psyche Suicide who I met, and we formed that band and we cut 3 records. You could also get that. You could also get that on the website.
Right. It's good, folks. By the way, it's well done. So well worth checking out. So, well, Sammy, thank you again. I really appreciate your time tonight. And folks, remember.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. I was just wrapping up, folks. Just remember, SammySerious.com, 4321thezeros.com. Show them some love. There's some great stuff on here. And we will see you all next time. And thank you for listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Thanks for having me.